Hi everyone and welcome back. Bright light, big cities. I'm basing this video on a recent photo walk I did in the City of London here in the UK, where I spent the entire day re-exploring my favourite areas after a longish absence. If you're watching this around the time of publication and you're here in the UK, you'll know that for many the good weather has finally arrived. I hope it has wherever you are. For me, this is the best time of year for urban street photography. Beautiful bright light and deep dark shadows. We're going to look at some of the images I captured on my recent walk and my thinking around them and how I went about capturing them. I purposefully tried to cover a few different types of images in order to show the kinds of things we can do in the aesthetic or fine art photography style on the street when all the elements come together and everything feels right. I travelled light using my Fuji X-T30 and the 15 to 45mm lens, and also the Fuji XF 27mm lens. I left my beloved Olympus EM5 at home because I thought it was about time that I let the Fuji shine, and it didn't disappoint. I knew I was going to be out for quite a while, so I thought the fewer things I was carrying the better. Travel light if you can, but remember to always carry water and to have a rough idea where the loos are. Using a short fixed focal length lens will also help to keep the camera's weight down, as zooms can often be heavy and bulky to use. Don't be lazy and move your feet if you have to make an alteration in your distance for framing purposes. Of course, you should take breaks when you're out shooting the streets for a long period of time, and a quick coffee can recharge you. During this photo walk, I was out and about for 6 hours and I only took a 30-minute break, 10 minutes for a coffee and 20 minutes for a cheese bun. I'll have to say I felt fairly guilty about taking the time for the bun. This is me when I've got the bug and the light is right and I just want to keep going. Okay, with that advice dispensed, let's get started. The first image of the day for me was one of my favourite kind, one constructed from the light and shade. A bright morning in spring is a great time to create this style of image. I came across this modern sculpture that was catching the light in a way that appealed to me. My idea was to use the shapes the light was creating in conjunction with the shadows forming on the ground around the sculpture. Lots of geometric interest which only needed a handy passerby to perform a contrasting role to complete the scene. Using objects such as sculptures and street furniture is a great way to bring graphic interest into your pictures. Even if your main subject is elsewhere, including the structural forms of other objects in your scene can be useful as framing and balancing devices. Next up is something a little more abstract. I always like to try and find an abstract shot when I'm out shooting. I like the security camera and was able to use the shapes of shadow to add some contrast. I like this mixture of elements combining to make a collage style image, as long as the light is interacting nicely, helping to add contrast and bringing the scene to life. Next up is shoot into the light. Don't be afraid to shoot into the sun. If you're looking to capture some silhouettes or you're after some beautiful black shadow areas, then shooting into the sun is a surefire way to go about it. I always stop down by at least a third of a stop and I'll expose for the brightest part of the scene away from the sky, which is usually the ground area. I often want to shoot silhouettes on bright sunny days, which of course are the best times to do them. For me, it's about shooting the human form in its most free-flowing and organic form, as opposed to the more rigid and geometric architecture of the urban environment. In today's shot, the loose and rather indolent-looking posture of the boy, as he is led through the covered walkway, is at odds with the dark lines of shadow crossing the image. The arch of shadow is a good subframe which helps to focus our attention on the main focal point. Hiding in the shadows taking these shots is an easy way to stake out a scene until you get something you like. I saw this guy walking ahead of me and I thought he looked quite interesting, so I caught up with him and then saw that he was about to pass into this covered area where light was breaking through, and I thought I'll let him get ahead of me and use the columns on the right for graphic interest and as a framing device. It's a nice sort of half silhouette. I've learned to be very patient with street photography, and I won't leave a scene until I really think I've got the best shot that I can. Although you can get lucky and the shot might come quickly, and of course you can improve your luck with a bit of foresight and planning. And there's a point worth making here about being patient and learning to wait for the shot. I will always stay within an area if I think it might yield something. I get more excited by the minute at the prospect of capturing what I have in mind, and I love watching how the light plays with the scene. Next on the list of shots to try and get was a reflection image. In today's picture I was using a window for a semi-abstract look, which can sometimes turn a mundane picture into something far more interesting. I spotted a chap in a hat plodding his way through what was really a very nondescript underpass, and I quickly realised that the immediate surroundings were no good, and looking around me all I was presented with was an entrance to a car park and some building work. To my left was a window and a chance to create something with a reflection. Thankfully there was a handy drawn curtain hanging in it, and some safety stickers, which provided a little graphic detail, and a rapid fire from the Fuji, and bingo, I'd got the shot. Not sure whether I prefer this in colour or black and white. It has a little of the Saul lighter about it in colour. I'm a sucker for a hat wearer in the city. It's a pity more people don't wear them like they used to. They can make some great shapes for our pictures. This highlights two things for when you're out and about on your photo walks. Always be aware of your surroundings, and always try to think quickly about what you can use as a background in a hurry. Negative space was next on the menu, and another of my favourite types of shot. Here the vast towers in deep shadow took my attention, and the narrow shaft of light slicing between them. I like the railing that leads the eye into the L-shaped area of light where our characters are highlighted. This was a major construction area, and I like the idea of using construction workers in the picture. At first glance you might not see any potential in a scene like this, but negative space is a powerful tool in creating impact and as a framing technique. Moving on and getting later into the afternoon on my photo walk, and I was looking for some nice deep shadow and subtle angled light scenes, sort of a fading of the light kind of shot. This is another reason to get out and shoot at this time of the year, because the longer days mean more light and more opportunities on the street. If you're limited to the amount of time you can spend on the streets with your camera because of other commitments, then the longer afternoons and light evenings are a real boon. I noticed the priest coming out of the church with some other people, and they stood there chatting for a while. Most of the people went back inside the church, but the priest continued on his journey down the street. And I saw that this could be the perfect opportunity to fill the space with an interesting character. The fact that he was holding the cross out in front of him was an added bonus. I got very lucky here, but sometimes you just do. This shot actually comes from a previous day's photo walk I did in Cambridge. Spring light is wonderful for street photography, so give yourself a project and get out there. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time. To see my street photography, visit my website at www.rupertvandervelde.co.uk and check out my book Fine Art Street Photography, From How to Use Light to What to Look For in a Scene. Fine Art Street Photography shows you how to turn the urban environment into striking street images. This book is available on Amazon.